At first, my initial reaction was that the media is overreacting.
We thought it was, accidental. I think everybody thought it was accidental at first.
And at first I thought it was an accident, like a lot of people.
At first I thought it was just a really tragic accident and coincidence.
Pilot was off course, or something was wrong with the instruments.
So probably just like some guy in a, prop, like a single-engine prop that ran in. There were no pictures, there was no details of what had happened.
And I was kind of surprised at first. I didn't know if it was for real or not.
The first thought which crossed my mind was, okay, it looks bad, but I'm sure it's something they can fix.
And at that point, I was kind of shocked, but almost didn't believe it.
The first thought that came to my head was, why are they showing footage from whenever it was when the trade towers were bombed the first time?
And I thought, oh, now what are they selling with all this violence and stuff?
I looked at the TV screen and I saw what was going on. At first I didn't believe it.
My first reaction was just complete disbelief. My students were completely silent.
I guess I was going through a period of disbelief.
We had no idea who was behind it in any way.
I didn't know what to do. I just sat down and started watching the news.
While I watched it, another plane hit the towers, and even the announcer didn't see it. He just said, oh, there's another explosion. But I said, no, 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 another plane flew behind that building in the picture and hit that tower.
And we waited until we heard the second bang. And at that point, I said, I'm not staying here, let's just run. And we ran.
We saw an airplane fly across the screen and hit the second tower. And the man who owned the dental lab and I just looked at each other in disbelief.
And a half hour later, she comes in again, opens the door and says, did you hear another plane went through the other World Trade Center?
And I was like, what? What is going on? Is this like real?
We had just gotten to the bistro when the second plane hit.
And then I saw on TV when the second plane hit the second tower.
So at that moment, it was kind of scary because we weren't really sure what happened. We weren't sure if it was an accident.
And that's kind of when there was a little bit of mass hysteria.
It was just chaos. It was just trying to maintain everybody.
At that point, we started panicking. The assistant principal came in and told us to close the shades.
There was a rush of people running onto the train, crying and screaming and all hysterical.
And then I saw Elliot running and some tension.
Stream of people just going uptown, and a lot of them covered with gray ash.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people sort of walking with stunned looks on their faces.
And we walked and we walked until we got to the 59th Street Bridge. We walked over the bridge and then down Northern Boulevard. Where we got off the bridge, people were giving us water.
People started buying like tons of things like water.
You could hear the commentators really, nervous about, what was happening.
The lady had this expression on her face behind the front of the desk there that was like she'd seen a ghost.
5 or 6 minutes, I saw maybe 7, 8 people jump out these windows out of desperation because the fire was so hot and the smoke was so black.
And with every new person, another bit of bad news was coming in. That both towers are inflamed. People are jumping out of the towers.
A plane flew into the World Trade Center. Then it was a second plane had flown into the other building of the World Trade Center. Then it was a plane flew into the Pentagon. I had heard a plane flew into the White House.
It's going to hit Pentagon, and another one is going towards Pittsburgh. And some reporter on television said the plane is going also to California, to San Francisco.
There were all these reports, there were 9 planes still missing in the sky.
I had heard that there was 4 planes unaccounted for. So it was really obvious this was a major attack, and nobody knew how extensive it was.
This was really bad. Something wasn't quite right here, and that we were probably under attack by somebody.
And that's when it kind of dawned on me that this was not an accident.
It couldn't possibly have been an accident. It had to be something deliberate. It was just the probability was just unbelievable.
We still really didn't know what was going on. We knew not to let anybody into the cockpit. We left the cockpit door locked.
From then on, we were all glued to the television and the radio.
At that point, we all kind of focused on the TV and just sat there and watched.
Hardly got any work done because we're all just listening.
Everyone's focus was lost in what had happened, and if they knew someone that maybe had been there.
The whole lab just came to a standstill as we listened. I mean, every
every station we turned to, it just seemed like turmoil.
There was a line a block long of parents coming to pick up their kids, and they were hysterical.
And we went to, I think, 4 or 5 clinics, and they were all full, you know, they were all not accepting any more blood. There was so many people just standing in line waiting for 5 hours to give their blood.
After about 90 minutes, we all got cleared off the base, all civilian employees.
When I got to work, everyone was kind of in shock and didn't know what exactly to do at the time.
The whole office was kind of in disbelief.
Everybody was crying. The dentist was crying.
The whole classroom, everyone was, you know, crying and screaming.
In a state of shock. It was almost as if things weren't happening.
It was kind of hard to take in. It just seemed, for lack of a better term, like a movie.
We were told to go back into the classroom and try to keep school as calm and normal as possible.
And the teacher was just talking about donating money to the poor people there.
And a lot of people, you know, were trying to make calls to their families and things like that. And it's really hard to get phone lines.
So I was just panicking. I called out my mom. The phones were busy.
We started calling, all lines were busy. I tried to call right away and I couldn't get through.
Everything was busy. I couldn't make a call on my regular phone. I couldn't make a call on my cell phone. I couldn't get through anything.
Tried to get in touch with my wife. Couldn't, of course, because all the phones were down.
Called my relatives to find out if they were okay.
I called my mother right away. I called my girlfriend, I called my family, I made sure everybody was okay. A lot of people were stranded in Manhattan.
I spent a lot of time on the phone trying to make contact with my sister.
People were calling on their cell phones. People had sons, daughters.
As soon as my class was over, I called my friend's mother to find out, you know, if he was okay.
I then called my parents in Cleveland to make sure they were safe. I called my sister at her job.
And I called Peace Corps Washington, asking them what was the condition of the Peace Corps in New York.
It was very unsettling at that point to not know what was going on and to be kind of sitting around just waiting for things to unfold and waiting for news of people.
I was very unhappy most of that day, worrying about people who were dead or dying.
We're running to the art room, seeing horrible, horrible pictures.
You know, this plane-shaped hole in the side of the tower smoking.
Both towers were on fire.
People were in mass, people all filled with smoke.
The building was burning so badly. It was, you could see the metal burning.
And shortly after that, we got a message saying that United Airlines had decided to ground all of its airplanes.
We didn't tell the children till later that day. We sort of told them. We sort of let them be sent home so the parents could deal with it more.
They didn't know what was happening. The kids have parents who work in downtown, and we couldn't tell the kids. We couldn't let our emotions show.
The entire school was in and out of the library trying to see as many different news reports.
During school, our teachers were, I guess, told not to really react to it and not to play radios or anything, just have a normal school day.
The children started asking questions. They're like, well, how come this one left early and this one left early? And we just said, well, it wasn't like a regular school day. You know, some kids are going to leave early today.
During a break during school, of course, I worry about my children. My son lived in New York City.
So I just walked into Penguin Books. I didn't even know who they were, and I asked the receptionist to let me use her phone, and she did. And I called my mom, and they were eulogizing me already because they thought I was dead.